Again, I was on television saying that bin Laden's a CIA asset and looks like he'll attack New York. Saying, call Washington, tell them to call off the attack.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could join us today for this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast. Tyranny is enveloping the globe, and the United States is a shining jewel the globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. So that's coming up in the second half of the show. Very important information. I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you've wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press at one of your little drills you had, and that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite. He's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system. I want the White House numbers up there now. A big part of this solution, after you research all the government terrorism and check out what I'm saying is true, call the White House and tell them, we know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And you could save the planet. I'm calling it Operation Expose the Government Terror.
Again, I was on television saying that bin Laden's a CIA asset and looks like he'll attack New York.
I want to just point something out to you. I know this is staged, not just because of all the anomalies. That just confirms it. I was suspicious immediately. So suspicious the day before I did a 3-hour radio program saying, mark my words. It's posted on the same channel below me. Just go watch Thursday's radio show. The day before this happened, I said, mark my words, I can see all the pre-programming and the brainwashing. Are you hearing me? That they are preparing to rebrand the war on terror, now that they've dominated the entire Middle East basically, from we've got to take all your rights and spy on you and take your freedoms and have no bid contracts for trillions of dollars in the aggregate because the Muslims want to kill you and they're hiding under every table. Might be one here right now, going to get me. They want to rebrand that and move it over to everybody's a terrorist. Nobody is trustworthy. And the right-wing extremists who don't want the foreign banks fully bankrupting Europe, England, and the United States, the right-wing extremists that don't want the carbon taxes, the right-wing extremists that don't want the open borders and UN, Agenda 21 globalism, they are hiding under every table.
I want to say this again, and I'm going to your calls. They are priming everybody for domestic soft terror attacks all over the country. And they're going to hop up, drug-head white people, blacks, Muslims, you name it, claim they're linked up together. In some cases, they'll have contractors kill people. They'll shoot a patsy in the head, like Harrison Kleinbold, and say that's what happened. They're getting ready. You wonder how the government's going to get its banking raping through, how it's going to get its police state through, how they're going to get the 9% approval rating for Congress up. Look at all the Democratic operatives that have written memos to Obama saying you need a 9/11 or Oklahoma City. That will help you.
On the broadcast tonight, deadly attacks, a bomb in a downtown building, a gunman on a rampage at a youth camp. There are dead and wounded tonight in 2 attacks that have stunned a place known for peace. Who is responsible?
I'm telling you, they're getting ready, and they're getting ready to unleash white al-Qaeda. It'll be as phony as a $3 bill, but they don't care.
We also know that he was linked to a Freemason society and that he did have a license to carry weapons and that he expressed Christian fundamentalist, anti-Muslim and nationalist views on websites. A Norwegian newspaper quoted a friend of his as saying that he turned to right-wing extremism in his 20s.
The man who's been charged with the attacks has been named locally as 32-year-old Anders Breivik, who has contacts with right-wing groups. His motives for such a devastating attack have baffled those who've studied right-wing extremists in Norway. How much of a shock is it to people in Norway that this was an attack carried out by one of their own?
It's a huge shock. I think we all thought that right-wing extremism was something that was largely under control. We had glimpses of it back in the 1980s. The last action was against a mosque in Oslo in 1988, where nobody were seriously injured and nobody were killed. And the main attention, of course, in recent years has been against international Islamist extremism, not against homebred right-wing extremism.
So they're getting ready, okay? They're getting ready to stage terror attacks and blame it on the American people. No, they're getting ready. We are the terrorist, okay? I mean, in all the internal manuals, it is the veterans, the gun owners.
Anders Behring Breivik is 32 years old. He's described as being tall and blonde, and he's been linked to the Freemason Society and is said to have held a license to carry a rifle, shotgun and Glock pistol. Breivik expressed Christian fundamentalist, anti-Muslim and nationalistic views on websites. A Norwegian newspaper quotes his friend as saying that he turned to right-wing extremism in his late 20s.
The Associated Press tonight quotes a Norwegian police official speaking on condition of anonymity because his department has not yet released their conclusions, who says, quote, "It seems like that this is not linked to any international terrorist organizations at all," and he compares the event not to 9/11, but to the Oklahoma City bombing.
I told you this would come when the total collapse of Europe began. Next, they'll move to the United States and England. And right as the banks seize the pension funds, go after the private pension funds, right as they slash benefits but increase taxes, the terror attacks will be staged so that you are distracted by that and rally around the government in fear.
Jewel. That's the date, August 23rd, 24th. By that Republican primary date, I predict, unless there's a major election fraud, and Arizona's bad about it, that John Stinkin' McCain is going down just like Spectre. Hoorah! Yeah! Yeah! Yeah, baby! Yeah, taking scalps!
In the next 10 minutes, Paul Joseph Watson is set to publish a key report at prisonplanet.com dealing with President Obama and October or even early November surprise staged terror attacks. We've learned to read the signs when they're considering staging an event. They are full court press right now, hyping that terrorists may strike the United States. And we have Obama and Clinton advisors like Robert Shapiro saying what Obama needs is a giant terror attack to win the midterm elections and to get a second term in 2012.
Documenting it, DEA people, carte blanche admitting it. And we've seen articles in early 97 about the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas and San Antonio being caught with $3 billion of drug money. This goes to the highest levels. Truthfully, it's good to say we should decriminalize drugs, but at the same point, isn't the war on drugs also creating the police state that they like?
That's my greatest concern. I don't say let's legalize drugs because I want to see you use drugs or anybody else. We have not had a war on drugs. We've had a war on our Bill of Rights.
We're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And you could save the planet.
I have two words for you.
I'm calling it Operation
Predator
Expose
drones.
the government.
You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
But when the president can kill whoever he wants, then he's not a president anymore, he's a king. To start assassinating American citizens without charges, we should think very seriously about this. There aren't even any charges filed against him other than what the president's people have publicly said about him. Can we just say that because of what we think he said to somebody in a foreign country, he's lost his right to life and American agents can just kill him?
If the American people accept this blindly and casually, that we now have an accepted practice of the president assassinating people who he thinks are bad guys, I think it's sad.
I strongly object to the president institutionalizing a policy that explicitly says that he has the authority to target American citizens because he believes they're bad people.
Arming murderous Mexican drug cartels, and no one tells Mexico. We're not talking about a dozen or even a couple hundred guns. We are talking about thousands of weapons. Two of those weapons turned up at the murder scene of a U.S. border agent named Brian Terry. That is his photo. It's important we remember his name. Tonight, the GOP-controlled House Judiciary Committee asked the White House to name a special counsel to determine whether the Attorney General himself, Eric Holder, lied when asked
any
about
administration and giving anyone a pass. The American people and the people of Mexico expect us to have a zero tolerance for letting drugs come into our country or weapons go into Mexico.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda.
It is May 2nd, 2011. Yesterday, May Day, May 1st, President Obama addressed the nation late Sunday evening to say that just hours before, Osama bin Laden had been killed in the middle of a major populated city in a palace compound. My friends, this is a complete and total hoax, and we predicted with total precision, with inside sources, going back more than 8 years ago, exactly what would happen. It's on record that Steve Pieczenik, who worked as the top deputy to Henry Kissinger, and who also is a high-level Council on Foreign Relations member, was interviewed back in April of 2002 and said that bin Laden was dead and that was on ice, and that in the future he would be used at a politically expedient time to bolster the government in the eyes of the people.
And now they love it. They can abuse and beat up everybody and nobody can stop them. Nobody can stop them. They're having their way with America. They want our guns. And if you're not with them, cops and military, then you will declare that you're with the Republic now. And don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this, and I should only go get upset about my favorite football team winning or losing. Listen, I know what tyranny means. I know the bankers are putting poison in our food and water. I know the bankers have stolen $8.5 trillion. I know we're under War Powers Act. I know they're hurting us. I know they're carrying out New World Order. I know they staged those terror attacks. You know what it's like to gut up to this and go out every day and go past the peer pressure and come out day one and say 9/11 was an inside job and lose most of the radio stations I was on? You know what it's like to go to sleep every night knowing you work for a bunch of psychotic killers and you bastards are probably going to end up killing me one day? You know what it's like knowing you've ruined my life? You know what it's like, you sons of bitches? I'm tired of your crap! You commit evil, you're part of an evil system, and we're standing up against you! And the Republic is going to defeat you in the end! Some of us won't make it personally through this, but a lot of us are. And in the end, you are going to be brought to justice for all the kids you kidnapped for CPS, all you CPS workers, all you corrupt bureaucrats, all of you that have had your way with innocent children over and over again, who think your evil's invincible. You're not invincible, and God is going to deal with you. And you are cursed to hell. I'm done. I got to get out of here. I'm pissed off now. Robert Wanick, you can make some closing comments. I'll give you the last 2 minutes. We're going to end transmission. Make sure the guy's got your address so I can send you those videos so you can resist tyranny. I salute you.